Let me tell you a story about a wonderful little town called Sonapur. It was a cheerful, happy place where, for the longest time, a mysterious bell rang every single morning. That is, until one day, it just didn't.
It's a scary thought, right? And it's a question that people of Sonapur never ever imagined they'd have to answer. So let's dive into this fascinating little tale and see what happened.
Okay, so our story begins with the one thing that made this town truly unique. It wasn't a place or a person, it was a sound. Now get this, no one pulled a rope, there was no priest standing there, no button to push. Every single morning, like magic, this bell would ring and wake the entire town. It was more reliable than any alarm clock.
Of course, a mystery like this got everyone talking. The kids, with their amazing imaginations, figured it had to be a tiny robot or maybe even a friendly ghost. The elders, on the other hand, believed something much deeper, that the bell had a soul, a spirit that watched over their town. It was this beautiful mix of wonder and faith.
And every good story needs heroes, right? Well, at the heart of this one are two best friends. First, you've got Guddu. Super smart, but hey, who doesn't love a good shortcut? And then there's Minu, whose superpower was her curiosity. She was always asking, but why? Remember these two. They are absolutely key to this whole thing.
And then, one day, silence. 6 a.m. came and went. The rhythm of Sonapur was just broken. The town's heartbeat had completely stopped. And the result? Oh, it was pure comical chaos. Suddenly, everything was off. Mrs. Sharma's breakfast was burnt, the cows were very confused, and the yoga uncle, of course, blamed it all on mobile phones. It just goes to show you how much they all relied on that one single sound. But, it was so much worse than just a simple malfunction. When everyone finally rushed over to the temple to see what was wrong, they found the truth. The bell hadn't just stopped ringing. It was completely gone. Vanished. Okay, so now we get to the investigation. The town quickly put together a committee and started pointing fingers at some, shall we say, very interesting suspects. The lineup was, well, it was creative. You had Chiku, the mischievous local monkey. Then there was Ramu, the watchman who was famous for sleeping on the job. And finally, Bunty, a kid who was really into magic tricks. It was a classic case of rounding up the usual, if slightly absurd, suspects.
Chiku's defense, you gotta admit, was pretty solid. I mean, sure, he was known for nabbing snacks and shiny objects, but a giant heavy bell? As he pointed out, that's a whole different weight class. He makes a very fair point.
And then we have Ramu, the watchman. His alibi might be the best one I've ever heard. He fully admitted to being asleep, but insisted that in his dream he was doing a fantastic job guarding the place. You just have to admire that level of confidence. And finally, Bunty the magician kid brought everyone back down to earth. He knew the difference between a little sleight of hand with a coin and, making a massive metal bell disappear. So with that, the committee was totally stumped. So, while the adults were running around making a lot of noise and blaming everyone, our young hero Minu decided to take a much, much different approach.
And this really shows you the heart of the mystery, doesn't it? The adults were all about loud arguments and jumping to conclusions. Minu, on the other hand, was quiet. She was about observation, evidence, and noticing the tiny details everyone else was too busy to see.
So, what did she find? Well, she found a single, perfectly clean peacock feather. She noticed there was no dust, no mud, no signs of a struggle at all. And then she saw them. Tiny little wheel marks on the ground. This wasn't a robbery. Her conclusion was a total game changer. The bell wasn't stolen. It was moved. Gently.
So acting on this incredible theory, Minu and Guddu decide to stake out the temple. And sure enough, right at the stroke of midnight, a hidden door creaks open, and out comes the last person anyone would ever suspect, Grandpa Shastri, the oldest, kindest man in town, carefully wheeling the bell on a little cart. Well, this changes everything, doesn't it? The mystery is no longer about who stole the bell. The real question is, why? Why would the most respected person in all of Sonapur do something like this? Let's get to the heart of it. And here it is, the truth. Grandpa Shastri's voice was full of sadness when he explained. He didn't take the belt to be cruel, he took it to protect it. He was afraid to tell anyone, worried they'd rather hear the comforting sound than face a difficult truth.
You see, the bell wasn't magic. It was something even better. A fragile masterpiece of engineering, built by his own father 60 years ago. It worked because of a perfect, delicate balance. But after all those years, it had become weak. One more powerful ring could have shattered it forever.
And when the townspeople heard this, their reaction was the real moral of the story. There was no anger, only understanding. They came up with a brilliant solution that honored the past while looking to the future. They had the bell carefully repaired, and they installed a new digital clock right next to it. Grandpa Shastri wasn't a criminal. He was a hero.
And so, a brand new morning came to Sonapur. The new clock chimed right at 6, and the old bell, now safe and sound, rang softly alongside it. Its beautiful voice saved for generations to come. It was the perfect harmony of tradition and technology.
And what did our young heroes learn from all this? Well, their final takeaway is pretty profound. New tools are great, for sure, but they're no replacement for wisdom. And asking a good question will always get you closer to the truth than shouting a wrong answer.
And really, that's the question this whole story leaves us with, isn't it? It's so easy to jump to conclusions, to see a villain where there isn't one. But the story of Sonapur reminds us that there's a better way, to seek understanding long before we ever seek to blame. Thanks so much for listening.